Germany, we have Thomas O'Donnell, American energy and geopolitics strategist and former global fellow of the Wilson Center in Washington, D.C. President Trump used the phrase obliterated. It's quite clear that has not happened because Israel then followed up with more bombs. Give us your impression of where the program now stands.
Going back a long ways, I've been working on this since, I think, the Carter administration. Clinton. What American strategists, when you hear them talk about these things, if anybody wanted to really destroy the Iranian nuclear program, it was always said it had to be done in a surprise attack because they had to get the maximum number of personnel of both engineering and skilled trades and also the leaders of it so that Iran couldn't regenerate the program. And it looks like that's what was attempted by the Israeli-U.S. alliance in this. They tried to kill as many as they could right off. I don't have a good assessment of how far they went. And they, of course, only the United States, everybody knew going way back, only the United States could possibly destroy these deep underground sites. An attempt was made, and I think there's still not, at least no public assessment of how effective that was. Even if they didn't break into the big centrifuge hall at Fordo, the vibrations and so forth might have done great damage. No doubt the program is set back considerably. I would just point out Iran has something like 400 kilograms, according to the IAEA, of 60% enriched uranium. That 60% of it is U-235 fissile uranium. No country in the world who's only got a peaceful program for reactors ever does that. It's unprecedented. So, by doing this, whether they actually intended to sometime soon or will try to sometime soon, they would have to, get sufficient centrifuges working, cascades working to up that to 90. But they wanted to at least show the West and the U.S. and Israel that this was a threat, and then use that for whatever negotiating purposes.
Thanks, Thomas. How difficult do you now think it will be for Tehran to relaunch the nuclear program if that is the decision they make?
Well, again, without a detailed assessment, but I think a country with 90 million people, with vast territory, with experience, sooner or later they could get this running again at some level. But they'll be, hunted by the Americans and the Israelis. If you don't mind, I think something here is, why are they doing this? And why has this game been going on for 20 some years? And from my point of view, it was actually back in 2003, after 9/11, the Iranians were very happy with what happened in Iraq. The Americans had removed their mortal enemy from power, and they wanted to make a grand bargain, and they offered all sorts of things. They offered to, turn Islamic Jihad and Hezbollah into political social organizations, to make their nuclear program a tabletop program, help with Al Qaeda. And Bush thought it was great, and Connie Rice thought it was great, and Colin Powell. But the neocons came in and convinced them that, okay, so Iran sanctions are lifted. They make a lot of money in the oil sector. They're even now the fourth biggest producer. They're going to make a lot of money. Do you trust them not to do a Saddam in the sense of, what Saddam did in Kuwait? Do you trust them? And Bush was convinced, no, I don't trust them. And on the Iranian side, they couldn't understand at first. Why did they say no? We agreed to everything the Americans ever wanted, and it sunk in that it's us they want. They don't trust us, and we're afraid of regime change. So that's why they basically restarted the nuclear program, in my view, at the time, was they didn't have any chip. They helped the Americans resolve the problems in Iraq, because that was existential to both sides, and they didn't have any chips left. So they developed this as a chip. The same thing after ISIS. They were still suppressing ISIS. They still had this problem. And the problem with this chip is, if you go ahead and just develop a nuclear weapon, every president has said, we'll immediately bomb you. And, it'll be one or two nuclear weapons against a whole lot of them if it came down to that. So it's always been to come as close as you can to get the best deal. And essentially, it's for a security guarantee. Obama got the deal, but I would just say American political system was so maximalist, the hawks, They wouldn't even accept the deal where Iran gave up all its highly enriched uranium to the Russians. And we're following all the rules that were set down. So Trump came in, and he's not going to get any deal that's really better. It's just that if Trump does it now, after going through this, I think finally the hawks in the United States will go along with it. And on the other hand, the Iranians several times had opportunities where the Europeans intervened and others to say, look, if you make some deals, we can walk this along and you can join the family of nations. And they always balked at this, either because of internal conflict or ideological problems, whatever. So there's been dysfunction on both sides. Hopefully, I can see Witkoff came very close to a deal after 5 meetings with the Iranian foreign minister, and Trump had set a 60-day deadline. They didn't meet it, and he went along with, Bibi, with Netanyahu to do this. But the Iranians show they're still willing. It might be possible for Trump to make a deal, maybe not that different than Obama's JCPOA, and we move forward. That's what I would hope.
Thank you, Thomas.